Hello, welcome back. If you are joining me for the first time, you have come on in episode 6 of the Hermetic Principles series, of which there are 7. So this is number 6 that you've joined me on. Please go back and listen to all the rest if you'd like. If you like this one, I'm sure you'll like the rest. What is number 6? It is the principle of cause and effect. What a juicy topic this one is. It's pretty much saying nothing happens by chance. Translation, the universe isn't rolling the dice with your life. You are. So we're going to dive into how cause and effect runs the show, whether we like it or not. It simply does. So let's go with it. Let's check it out and why it matters. It's important to broaden our understanding of all different sorts of theories and ideas. Every little morsel allows you to put together more of the puzzle. Not everything is going to be for you, and that's okay. Take what you want, leave what you don't. However, stay open to listening and critically thinking about stuff you learn and move forward from there. So I think cause and effect matters because they're all links in a chain, everything that happens, and sometimes we don't see it till ages later, do we? That breakup that happened that sort of broke your heart at the time. And now when you look back on it, you think, oh, wow, dodged a bullet. The promotion you got, there was a chain of events that led up to you getting that promotion, getting a flat tire on the way to a job interview. What was the cause of that? What's behind it? What's the chain that led up to that? All links. And, people, me included, I've been there. We love blaming luck, fate, the car park fairy. Was it Mercury retrograde? We love blaming all those sorts of things. However, it's actually a chain reaction of causes. And some you can control and some you don't. So let's break it down. Every episode, I have talked a little bit of the philosophy behind that principle and the psychology behind the principle as well. So we're going to do the same here. Basically, humanity has been obsessing over cause and effect like forever. It's not a new concept. Okay, I'm not reinventing the wheel here, just breaking it down from my perspective. Philosophers, monks, psychologists, they've all been looking into it and they all point to the same thing. Nothing just happens. There are no coincidences. Let's look at Aristotle. He had something called the 4 causes, and we're talking 2,000 years ago that he broke this down and his way of understanding cause and effect. He said every effect has 4 causes. The first one's a material cause. What's it made of? The second one is a formal cause, the design of it, the blueprint of it. The third one is, an efficient cause, what kicked it into motion. And the fourth one is the purpose. What is the purpose? So what he was getting at is that there's no such thing as random. Even your coffee addiction has layers of cause. Another really, what's the word? Common. That's the word I want. Another really common cause and effect understanding that people have is karma, Buddhism, karma. It's not a cosmic judge punishing or rewarding you. It's just action leading to consequence. That's it. It's not magic. Action leads to consequence. You plant apple seeds, you'll get apples. You plant drama seeds, you're going to get chaos. You plant seeds of generosity, like kindness, patience, compassion. You'll see those ripple back as stronger relationships, a calmer nervous system. And do you know what? This is just my belief. I believe my good karma is what let me merge in traffic and are nice to me in traffic. But that's just me. In psychology, there's what's called the locus of control. So this is where it gets a little bit spicy. If you've got an internal locus, that means that you believe that you can influence the outcome. Okay? If you've got an external locus, then you chalk everything up to fate, luck, Mercury retrograde. But guess who gets further in life? Guess who's more successful in the long run? I'll give you a spoiler alert. It's not the person who blames their star sign for ghosting. It's the person who believes they have agency. Excuse me again. In psychology, there's also a thing called learned helplessness. Seligman, if you want to look it up, is the person behind that, the theory behind it. It's basically saying that if life has kind of trained you in a way to believe that your actions don't matter. So you may have had, just a series of unfortunate events. Lots of crappy shit has happened in your life, which sucks, right? However, what it does is it can also program people's belief systems to think that it doesn't matter what they do. It's going to turn out crap anyway. It doesn't matter. So what happens is that you stop trying. What's the point of trying? No matter what I do, it's going to turn to shit anyway. Does that sound familiar? That's learned helplessness. And what it equates to, it's like you're sitting in a cage that's not even locked. You can walk out any time. However, because at one time, at a time in your life it was locked, you stay in the cage because you believe it to be locked instead of trying. Yeah. So where this all overlaps is that cause matters. If you're not actively being the cause, then you end up living effects that you don't actually want. And that's exhausting, isn't it? Remember, doing nothing is still a cause. Living at the mercy of luck is still cause. And the effect of those things is that you drift through outcomes that you didn't set, but you still have to live with. So you may as well take back that control and be the cause. Yeah. Now let's go a little bit closer to home, out of philosophy, and get more into the brain and how the mind works. We'll go down that rabbit hole just a wee bit. In NLP, we teach something called reframing. And what it essentially what it means is the meaning that you give something is the cause. You define the meaning. So then that meaning that you define creates an effect or an emotional effect. So, easy example. Say you're going out on a date and you get stood up. The person doesn't show up. Now, if you tell yourself, I knew this was going to happen, and deep down you're feeling like you're unlovable, you're not pretty enough, you're not whatever, you're not good enough. That's why they didn't show up. They probably came, saw me and ran away. Oh my God. The effect of those thoughts is this spiral of shame. It's the ice cream binge. It's the Spotify sad song playlist. It's the cry movies. You end up spiraling downwards into that almost that learned helplessness again. You might stop trying to date for fear of that happening again, believing it'll happen again. Whereas if you just reframe it, the person didn't show up, and instead, what if you told yourself, do you know what, I probably dodged a bullet here because they clearly were not ready. They're not on my level and they're not ready for the sort of relationship I want. So, phew, that effect is it puts you back in control. You can feel empowered, you can feel confident, you can move on. So see, it's the same event, different cause, different effect. That's reframing. We also, in NLP, we talk about meta models and thought patterns. Our brains, our minds, love to distort, delete, and generalize all the information. It's how we understand the world, it's how we make sense of the world. The little distortions that we do, they're the causes. So, it's an example of this. If you keep saying to yourself, everyone always leaves me, then that thought, it plants itself as a cause. And what will happen from that is that you'll actually start acting in ways that guarantee that effect. So we self-sabotage is another word for it. Self-sabotaging. So we need to change those distortions, don't we? Change the cause. Neuroplasticity is a really cool branch to look into in regards to your brain and your mind. The brain literally wires itself based on the things that we repeat, repeated causes. So that's your thoughts and your behaviors, right? Repetition strengthens the neural pathways. So if you keep feeding your brain trash, then the effects you're going to get are trash. Sorry, not sorry, that's a bit harsh. However, it's, I live by it too. If you plant empowering thoughts and behaviors, your brain will remodel itself to suit that, to get those effects. Feed it trash, though. If you keep thinking negative thoughts and having negative behaviors, then that is what your brain is going to keep putting out there. We do it to ourselves. I've said this before in regards to, because we see everything in pictures in our mind. If you don't like the movie that's playing in your mind, if you don't like the way your life is looking, stop giving the same freaking direction. Stop giving the same thoughts, because you're going to get the same effect. You have to change your perspective. Your internal perspective must change in order to get a different external perspective. What I'm saying in regards to these things is that when it comes to mindset, it's both the spark and the fuel. So you can't control the match that gets thrown at you. That's just it. But you damn well can decide whether you throw petrol on it or water on it. That's up to you. You can control that. Okay? That's what I'm getting at with cause and effect. It's a really powerful and empowering lesson. It's a bit bittersweet at first, when you first start really applying cause and effect in your life. It feels like a bit of a beat up, to be honest. I really struggled at first. However, that's all part of that mindset shift. It feels like a beat up because we think about cause and effect in regards to blame. It's not about blame. See, the word blame also comes with all these other hanger-oners like shame and I'm not good enough, and blame is about trouble and doing it wrong and all the negative stuff that gets anchored to that word, blame. Cause and effect isn't about blame. Cause and effect is recognizing the power you have and how often we give it out to other people instead of actually empowering ourselves. Life, we wait for life to happen to us, don't we? When will things get easier? When will things get good? I want to challenge you to say, instead of life happening to you, you're happening to life. Make life your bitch, right? Every word you speak, every thought that you repeat in your head, everything that's going through your mind, every habit you reinforce is making life happen the way you are designing it. So get in there, be the architect, change what you don't like. So many people want a different effect, but they won't touch the causes because they are aligning it with blame. They feel like it's their fault, and so then they feel shame. And no one wants to go there because shame feels gross. It's icky. However, getting in touch with the causes is the way to empower yourself to make those changes. We have to reframe the wording, the language around it. When you want a different effect and you're not prepared to look at your causes that are in play, that's like hating on the mirror when you don't like your reflection. It's not the mirror's fault. It's all you, baby. Yeah? So how does this look in real world examples from a psychological example from, or physiological, I could say as well? Look at the stress response, right? That's cause and effect. The cause is the thought pattern. If you're saying to yourself, I can't cope with this, I can't cope, the effect of that thought you're going to get a surge of cortisol. Your breathing is going to become shallow. You're going to be overthinking. Your body is going to go into overdrive, and not in a good way. That's cause and effect. Whereas you can shut that down. When you start saying to yourself, I can't cope, stop, take a breath. Okay, it's difficult right now. I am struggling right now. However, what resources do I have? What can I control? And start focusing on what you can control. That's going to slow everything down. You're going to be able to think clearer. You're going to have a better effect from changing the cause. Look at relationships. If you keep attracting, emotionally unavailable people, prospective partners, the cause isn't that they keep, sending them to you. It's not the universe's fault that they keep putting these people in front of you. It's nothing to do with that. It could be something like your attachment style that you haven't examined, or that your boundaries that you haven't strengthened. The cause is going to be with you. Something that I've dealt with before with clients is to do with careers, with jobs, getting passed over, but I've worked so hard and I'm always the first there and the last to leave. And, I'm so good at my job and yet I don't get promoted. Yes. What's the cause? Because that's the effect. Not getting the promotion, that's the effect. What's the cause? The cause could be that when it comes to meetings and everything, you stay quiet. You don't speak up. You don't make yourself heard. You don't express yourself. And so you get looked over or overlooked. Because if you think about if you approach, meetings and things like that because you don't really like them, and so you just want to be invisible because you don't really want to be there, then guess what? The effect of that is you will be invisible. You won't get that promotion. You won't be front of mind. No matter how hard you work, you're not front of mind because you don't put yourself there. So you can see the cause and effect with that, I trust. I'm going to move on because otherwise I'll keep going. The empowering part of this is that if you caused it, you can change it. If the cause is in someone else's hands, you can do nothing about it, can you? And that's disempowering. So it's all about empowerment, that if you cause it, regardless of if it turns out the way you want or turns out the way you don't want, you caused it, you can change it. This is your story. You can take control of it. If you have effects in your life that you hate, that you don't like, that you want to change, trace it back. Find the cause, tweak the cause, change it altogether. Look at when I was talking about reframing that whole blame thing. Let's call it responsibility, but let's call it, because I don't want guilt involved. Guilt is useless in this part. Guilt goes with blame. It's not empowering. Okay. So let's break down the word into two. Let's call it responsibility, meaning you have the ability to respond differently. That's empowering. You can build up that muscle. Yeah. So like I said, if there's something you want to change, look at the chain, run it backwards. What's the actual cause here? And keep drilling back until you get to a cause that you can control. That's going to be where the power is. Also interrupting the cause. This goes back to the reframing. Change a small thing, whether that's just one thought, one habit, one word, the language. Remember, like responsibility. My ability to respond differently to this situation. That's a lot more empowering than blame and guilt, isn't it? And I'd ask you to be intentional. Intent matters. Intent is everything. Words really have little to no power within themselves. It's the intention behind them and it's the meaning we give them. That's where their power is. So be intentional. Set your causes on purpose. Decide what you want to plant. What's the seed? You know, what we talked about before. What's the seed you want to plant? Okay. So let's close this up. Nothing happens by chance. That's what this Hermetic principle is all about, cause and effect. Nothing happens by chance. Every cause that you choose today will write the effects that you live with tomorrow. That's pretty much what it's saying. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Please, if this episode gave you pause, if you want, gave you something to think about, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please support me. I would really love that. Automatic Mouth is here for us all to simply expand our understanding of different things in the world. Please feel free to share this as well and invite others to the channel. And don't forget, please, the real power move is to stop waiting for life to happen to you. Be the architect and start being the cause of the trajectory of your life. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to be talking about, it'll be the last one, number 7 on the Hermetic principles. It'll be the principle of gender. So we're going to be talking feminine and masculine energy. I look forward to seeing you then. Bye for now.